All right. Welcome back to Melon Mondays. So, if you are returning or if you live in Missouri, probably know that we had a primary last Tuesday that decided who the Democratic and Republican candidates would be for Roy Blunt's Senate seat, as he is retiring after this current term. And on the Democratic side, to get right into it, we have Trudy Bush Valentine, who secured 43.2% of the Democratic vote. With a somewhat close second place, Lucas Kuntz with 38.4%. So just under 5% difference between the two of them. Just under 18,000 vote difference. Now, it seems pretty close. There was, I believe, 11 total candidates, and the rest of them split what seems to be a little over 50,000 votes. I should have added this up before talking, but just guesstimating. So it was a pretty crowded field. All the candidates got over 3,000 votes or more. Looking at the Republican side, we have Eric Schmidt as the nominee by far. This was not close at all. Vicky Hartzler came in second by 20.6 points. I mean, she got 23.3%, but she lost by 20.6 points. Eric Schmidt got 43.9% of the vote. Similar to Trudy Bush, but remember, this is for their parties, not for the whole state. That being said, Eric Greitens, who for a while people assumed was going to get the nomination over the last few weeks, had been going way down in the polls and ultimately got third place. Now, the night before the primary, Donald Trump came out with an endorsement for the Missouri Republican Senate primary by saying he would support Eric. Now, obviously, nobody knew which one because there was Eric Schmidt and Eric Greitens. If you go back to my previous videos on this, I said he came out and said he would not endorse Vicky Hartzler, but with Eric Schmidt and Eric Greitens, he has two pro-Trump candidates that for a while were the top two. And so I'm sure that he would be fine with either one. And so that seems to be the case with him endorsing Eric. Yeah, so I guess Trump's endorsement worked because it did get an Eric elected. Now, what's funny is there was a Eric McElroy. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. So really, three different Erics could have claimed it, but Schmidt and Greitens both claimed the nomination or the endorsement right away. Anyway, Eric Schmidt won. Trudy Bush Valentine won. And for who will end up getting third place, most likely, in this November election will be John Wood, independent, who recent polling has shown he would get around 5 to 10% of the vote, depending on who the candidates were going to be for Democrats and Republicans. And so, looking at that real quick, so number 12 here, we have 1,591 likely November voters. And this is if Eric Schmidt, Trudy Bush Valentine were the two candidates, which that's the case, obviously. Eric Schmidt is projected to win by 6 points. So closer than other lineups. I mean, with it being Vicky Hartzler, would have been closer. And then I think Valentine tied with Greitens in this poll. But in a state where Trump won by, I think, like 15 points in either 2016 or 2020, there being right now a 6% difference between the two candidates is pretty interesting. Now, if you consider John Wood into the race, he would get 9%. We'll have to see how that plays out in November. Sorry, I don't know what's going on today. But, yeah. John Wood would get almost 10%. And this poll had 18% undecided. And is likely voters. So I think what Democrats are hoping for right now is for John Wood to pull away enough Republican voters for Valentine to win. Because John Wood has called himself a lifelong Republican, but he's just wanting to give an independent option to Missouri voters this election, even though, he's a conservative, so it would seem that he would take conservative voters away. But he could get some Democratic voters. He was on the January 6th committee as an investigative attorney, I believe. So, from that, like how there's some Democrats and liberals who are calling Liz Cheney a hero for being anti-Trump without really caring about voting record or policy, just like more of a symbolic anti-Trump person. And so they may do the same thing with John Wood. But, we'll have to see how this poll gets updated over the next few months. And if you look at who voted for John Wood in terms of party affiliation, he got 8% Democrats and 6% Republicans. So this poll is showing him pulling more voters away from the Democrats, but 16% independent. So those independent votes could have gone to Schmidt or Valentine. Don't really know. Schmidt's lead could be way bigger than 6 points if John Wood did not run. Yeah. That being said, looking at, sorry. Oh yeah, this was just the same poll what I was just showing, this updated one. But this has one from late April, mid-May, and then late July is the most up-to-date one. But if you see, Schmidt's lead is shrinking over Valentine. So I think that has to do with Valentine getting ads out there in the last month and getting way more name recognition. So I think right now, like 5 days after the primary, way more people know who Trudy Bush Valentine is, at least knowing that she's the candidate. I'll be honest, I had no idea who she was in April. I think she announced her candidacy in March. I had no idea who she was. She self-funded her campaign mainly. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. In November, there's also going to be some ballot measures. Amendment 1 authorizes the state treasurer to invest in highly rated municipal securities, which, if you go onto Ballotpedia, you can click on each amendment or ballot measure, I guess, and it'll give more detailed description of what it is and what voting yes would do or voting no would do. My understanding, this would just give the state treasurer more power to invest in, give him more options to invest in different types of investment. Sorry, don't really know where I was going with that, but just giving the state treasurer more options. Next one involves the police and budgets. It would allow the Missouri legislature to pass a law until December 31st, 2026, that requires a city to increase funding without reimbursement from the state to a police force that was established by a state board of police commissioners. Now, I don't know how many police departments across Missouri were established by a state board of police commissioners, so I'm not sure how many cities or towns this would affect. But again, you can click on it to read into it more. As we get closer, I will probably put out specific videos on these. The next one would give the Missouri National Guard its own department in the state government. So, yeah, I'll have to look into that one. I did not read that one ahead of time. But the next one would ask voters whether to hold a state constitutional convention or not. And there are, Ballotpedia has 2 potential measures, and we'll show the polling on at least one of them in just a second. So, first one, elections and campaigns. It would implement top 4 ranked choice voting for statewide offices, the state legislature, and United States Congress. So, it would implement, ranked choice voting in Missouri, which this is something that I'm going to look into. I don't want to give any opinions on it with the very minimal knowledge I have right now. The next one is about marijuana. Legalize the purchase, possession, consumption, use, delivery, manufacturing, and sale of marijuana for personal use for adults over the age of 21. It would allow individuals convicted of nonviolent marijuana-related offenses to petition to be released from incarceration and or have their records expunged, and impose a 6% tax on sale of marijuana. Now, I think if this got on the ballot, it would pass. We're about to check the polling that I'm pretty sure shows that. But, in terms of progressives, I think they would widely vote for it. People who identify as libertarians should vote for it because, it would give the people the freedom to consume a drug, a substance, whatever, of their choice, and it wouldn't be hurting anybody. It does not automatically release nonviolent offenders. It does allow to petition. I don't know how easy that is to do or how long that takes. But I mean, if this passed, that would be better than nothing. It could bring more money to the state with a 6% tax, and just seems pretty interesting. So, here we go. So, should the use of marijuana for recreational use remain against the law in Missouri or be legalized? So, plus or minus 2.6 points, a little under 2,000 registered voters were polled, and remain against the law, 26%, and that was half and half for male, female. Most of the people polled that said against the law were 50 and older. 33%, I should say. You can look at race, party affiliation, ideology. Uh, 2020 vote. Their view on abortion, education, income. Be legalized, 62%. People polled said it should be legalized. And 12% not sure. So, it seems that if it was put on the ballot, that it would pass with a large majority. We'll have to see, though, if it is able to get on and then how the vote turns out. But that's pretty promising for Missouri. I think a little over half the states now have legalized marijuana. I could be totally wrong. Obviously, it is not countrywide. And then this other poll, does law enforcement need more funding now than it now receives? The same amount of funding it now receives or less? More funding, 52%. 22% said the same. And 11% said less funding. So I think that may have something to slightly do with that other, with this Amendment 4. But yeah, that's a quick look at what the Missouri midterm election is going to look like in terms of the Senate seat and some ballot measures. Now, between now and early November, try to go through some other things. There is local and state races, and we have representatives, I think 6 in Missouri. And yeah. So, if you made it to the end, please like and subscribe to find out more about these other things. My chair is squeaky today. And if there was something that was not mentioned or that you would like to hear about before the November election, leave a comment below. And have a good rest of your Monday.